The song was originally written by a chap called Sherman Kelly. Now, Sherman's brother later took it to his band King Harvest to record, and this is the first version that really put the song on the map. And you'd be forgiven for thinking that the song was about carefree evenings and partying with your friends and dancing the night away. And to some extent, it is about that. Or at least the hope of being able to do that. What actually inspired Kelly to write this, though, was a really traumatic experience. Now, the story takes place in the Caribbean in the late 60s. At the time, Kelly and some friends were running a nightclub in St. Thomas, and one day they decided to take a yacht and sail to St. Croix, the largest of the US-owned Virgin Islands. However, this picturesque day immediately started to go wrong for Kelly. The poor bloke was incredibly seasick, so he spent the day throwing up and generally being miserable. So when they finally arrived in St. Croix, he and his girlfriend Adrian decided to disembark and enjoy dry land for a bit. They couldn't face getting back on the yacht to spend the night, so they decided to find an inn instead. However, they soon realised that Kelly had left his wallet on the yacht, and after failing to find anywhere that would take them without upfront cash, the plans changed again. It was then that Adrian decided they should just sleep on the beach, as it was such a beautiful night, and Kelly agreed. And this is where things go really wrong. As they slept, Kelly and Adrian were found by a dangerous street gang. They savagely beat Kelly with a baseball bat into unconsciousness, and the gang leader raped Adrian. Somehow, Kelly managed to regain consciousness, and he managed to make enough noise and cause enough trouble to scare the gang off before the brutal attack on his girlfriend could continue. But he was in a critical state by the time he was brought to the hospital. I woke up to the sound of my hospital roommate screaming in pain. Finally, the screaming stopped, and I heard 2 doctors talking about him. "That's it, he's gone," said one doctor about the other patient. "What about him? You think he's going to make it?" And the other doctor said, "No, I doubt it." I realised they were talking about me. And it's thought by some that he and Adrian were some of the first victims of the Fountain Valley Gang, who in 1972 would go on to massacre 8 tourists on a golf course. The gang members themselves disagreed over if the massacre was a planned political statement against tourists ruining the island or just a robbery gone wrong. Luckily, despite the concern of the doctors, Kelly did survive his vicious attack and was discharged with pretty severe head trauma. He flew back to New York to get more medical care and recover properly. The doctors had to re-break and then reset several bones in his face. Yeah, you're going to think about that next time you're dancing to this song at a wedding. It's going to ruin your whole evening. Understandably, Kelly didn't fancy touring with his band for a bit after this ordeal. He suffered from recurring headaches, and the tour life probably wouldn't have helped. So instead, he took the time to get stuck in with his songwriting. And this is where we get to Dancing in the Moonlight. One night, Kelly sat at the piano after a couple of glasses of wine and began to write. Kelly began to imagine another reality, one where he and Adrian could have slept on the beach peacefully and safely, not having to worry about anyone wanting to hurt them. I envisioned an alternate reality, the dream of a peaceful and joyous celebration of life. It was just me imagining a better world than the one I had just experienced in St. Croix. So despite the dark origins, Dancing in the Moonlight is a celebration of life and what could have been. And now the lyrics seem to make much more sense. Everybody here is out of sight. They don't bark and they don't bite. They keep things loose, they keep things light. Everybody's dancing in the moonlight. The whole vibe of the song is just so positive and uplifting. It perfectly captures that feeling of joy. It's truly impressive that Kelly managed to create that sort of vibe after such a traumatic experience. And that was all deliberate. Kelly wanted to find the positives in a world of negatives and celebrate them. Now, the track was first recorded by Kelly's band Boffalongo in 1970. By the way, I should say I can only play tiny amounts of music in these videos because of YouTube's copyright robots, but over on my Patreon page I upload special versions of every video that I do with more of the music in them. It's patreon.com/musicmongoose if you're interested. Now, Kelly himself is not a fan of his vocals on his own version. The first time I was in a recording studio for that version, we had these producers who thought it was a good idea to give me cocaine. That was probably the worst idea. I found myself in the vocal booth where there were a lot of people distracting me, and the producers would give me more cocaine to keep me doing takes until my voice was so distorted and so weird. Despite this, the song did perform well and became a regional hit. However, it was only when Sherman Kelly's brother, Wells Kelly, joined the Paris-based group King Harvest that the song got the recognition it truly deserved. Wells Kelly introduced his brother's song Dancing in the Moonlight to the band, and of course they loved it. They released a version of it that put it on the world stage.
We get it almost every night.
It's a real kind of laid-back groove that's such an earwig. This version of the song peaked at number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100 and did even better in countries like the UK and Canada. It was such a success that King Harvest embarked on a massive tour in the summer of 1972 and invited Sherman Kelly to join them. Now, this was exciting for a while, but Kelly only lasted a year with the band, citing that tour life just wasn't really for him. But the success of the song, of course, didn't stop there. In 1999, English rock band Top Loader released their own version of the track. And as I'm sure you know, this version of the song absolutely exploded. It did way better than the King Harvest version and has since been certified 4 times platinum. This pushed the track back onto the world stage and, ironically, became what Top Loader are most known for. I think we have kind of resigned ourselves to the fact we will never have as big a hit as that again. We are really proud of it now, but we did go through a stage of, oh god. But most bands have one big song, so it's just one of those things. It is a big crowd-pleasing song, and it just never goes away. It Never Goes Away is a very accurate way to describe this song. There have been countless covers of it, all fun, all slightly different, and all keeping the song alive. But why is it such a favourite across so many genres and artists? I think it comes back to the idea of joy. Kelly did an amazing job of taking a traumatic experience and turning it into something that's completely the opposite. Dancing in the Moonlight has become a staple of every bar, house party, wedding, kitchen floor across the world because it makes people feel happy. It's that simple. And I think Kelly not only recognised that, but is incredibly proud of that fact. When faced with the horror of nearly losing his life, he responded by creating joy. He summed it up really nicely here. I think the universe enjoyed my response, and I certainly enjoyed the universe's response. Now, another song that manages to connect a harrowing experience to upbeat music is Back on the Chain Gang by Pretenders. I've made a video about that tune too. Click over here to watch it next.